Let's get educated. That's why we're here, to bring you the stories impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses. It's time for a little education.
Welcome, everyone out there in the internet land, I guess is what it was called.
In the universe.
In the universe.
Actually, we have international viewers and listeners, yes.
Hi.
Hi, wherever you are. God bless you.
I am Katie Petrick, and over there, that guy, it's David Fiorazzo.
True story.
Still a story. Always a story. Now, well, tell me, David, what is the story, at least for Worldview Matters?
Ooh, another controversial topic because we use the word former today. We spoke with former homosexual George Carneal, who spent a lot of years out there in West Hollywood and Southern California in that lifestyle, and it took him to a potential suicide attempt, and he came to Christ. Now he lives down south, and he speaks about how children are being drawn into that by society, by the Queer All Year. It's not just Pride Month, right? Queer All Year. They promote it on public schools. We got primetime TV and everything else. So that's today on worldviewmatters.tv. Please subscribe. We'll send you a reminder email at least maybe once a week, possibly twice, but worldviewmatters.tv. Appreciate you asking. We launched a new show. It's amazing. It's fun. Yeah, I get to talk to some great people.
All right. Well, just a quick reminder that you can catch Educated on the go by simply subscribing to the podcast on your favorite platform. And please, if you could, download the Freedom Project app and then click yes, so you'll get notifications. Now, down south, you mentioned, but we're going to go down south, Florida style. The state of Florida is set to unveil a new classic college admissions test that is designed to be an alternative to that SAT or that ACT that we all know about. Well, hey, let's give an extra option.
Yeah, it's interesting. If approved by its Board of Governors Friday or whenever that is, they're having this meeting. The state university system of Florida will be the first state public university system to allow scores from the CLT, Classic Learning Test, to be considered for college applicants. So Florida is set to introduce this test as an alternative to the SAT, the ACT, and we're going to talk about this, but we've got a video to set this all up. Watch.
A green light for public universities in Florida to start accepting a new entrance exam. It's called the Classic Learning Test, or CLT. Florida's 12 state universities will accept it in addition to better-known exams like the SAT or ACT. Critics say it's just the latest move by Governor Ron DeSantis to try and inject a more conservative curriculum into every level of public education in the state.
I think because CLT is viewed as too conservative by some, we've had a hard time breaking in.
Jeremy Tate created the test back in 2015.
So our goal at CLT is to put students in front of the most important texts that have really driven the development of thought and culture for more than 2,000 years.
One notable difference from other entrance exams, the CLT tends to focus more on humanities, morality, and classical literature, or as the New York Times describes it, an emphasis on Western canon and Christian thought. For example, a sample test includes passages from Plato, Cicero, and George Eliot's Letter About Rome Artists.
We started an alternative because we believe we're championing a better vision for education that is ultimately about the cultivation of virtue.
Until now, the test has primarily been used among homeschoolers, Catholic schools, some charter schools, and Christian schools. Tate says about 250 in total. Julian Vasquez-Heilig is a professor of educational leadership and research. He notes that allowing CLT into education policy in Florida is adding fuel to the fire started by the Don't Say Gay law and the dispute over the College Board's African American Studies AP course.
And now these students have to contend with a brand new exam that's not just a cognitive measure, but potentially a measure of conformity to specific approaches to curriculum and ideology.
It's fuel to that fire, David. It's fuel. That Plato, how dare you?
Yeah.
Cicero, never.
Anything that DeSantis does, they're going to say, they just want to Christianize the schools, or they just want to get all their conservative propaganda.
But that's because Ron DeSantis is governor right now. But the Mr. Tate, the one who created this, did this back in 2015. So, interesting. Interesting, the timeline.
Well, the state university system in Florida is the largest university system in the country that still requires an entrance exam as part of the admissions process. I think that's a good thing, Katie. We've gotten away from that.
Oh, you betcha we have.
If you've been paying attention, yeah.
Because we don't care about the actual education and the quality of students. The ones who should be in the seats are the ones who want to learn or are there to learn. But instead, the university systems across the nation, especially at the California system, they found that the kids aren't qualified, so let's just take away the qualifications to get in. They're not. Those kids shouldn't be in there, but we need them there because we want their money. So they've just taken away all the qualifications needed to get in, and so they just still take their money, and the kids cannot do the work that is set out in front of them. So what has happened that Florida is trying to do is say, hey, maybe we should hold the kids accountable and make sure we have kids who are prepared for college level work, and then we're going to provide them some sort of an entrance exam to see where they're at, to make sure they're ready to do this work so that they don't fail themselves or we don't feel like we're failing them. And so somehow, some way, that turns this whole thing into Ron DeSantis is an evil, evil man.
Well, they're going to fight him whatever he does, and he's really been on the side of parents, and that just irks the left, Katie. It irks the left, but did you say we have a graphic? There we go, the mission. We need to check out the mission of CLT, not to be confused with a BLT, which sounds pretty good right now. But so the classic learning test exists to reconnect knowledge and virtue by providing meaningful assessments and connections to seekers of truth, goodness, and beauty. What do we mean by knowledge and virtue? As far back as Plato, the goal of education was understood as developing both intellect and character in students. Stop right there, Katie. Character. Character. We don't talk about that anymore. We don't talk about character, morality, integrity. But this is one of the things that the CLT is concerned about, that the left is not.
Yeah, well, that's because back in classical education, we looked at human nature and what humans were doing and showed you through history, through literature, all these things, the way to be better human beings, to show growth within humans, because we are all sinners, we are all fallible. They wanted to do better. Now education, what are they trying to do? We don't want you to be better. We want you to be exactly the way we want you to be.
Think alike.
Think alike.
Yep.
Actually, just no think. Because that is think alike, because there was no thinking. And so, of course, the critics of this are going to say, it's just those morality and Christian values things again. Yep. Because guess what? That's how this whole world has existed for 2,000 plus years in terms of modern times. This is exactly what we have had.
Yeah.
But no. Until now, can't be done.
So still to come, here's a shocker. College freshmen can't write. In fact, in a desperate attempt to catch high school graduates up to speed, catch them up, many universities are now providing basic writing classes just so students can learn the basics they should have learned or mastered years ago. That's next.
Alrighty, well, we don't really have a new news story here. It's just another September, so of course we must report on how college freshmen simply cannot write. In our first story, we talked about how there are many college students who should not be in the seats, filling the seats of the halls on college campuses, because they're just simply not qualified to be doing that level of study. And we already knew that. And it's getting worse, and it's basically
DEI has helped that as well.
Yes, it has.
Oh, yeah.
And so more and more we have colleges that are needing to provide remedial writing classes. So in other words, what high schools, middle schools, and even down to the elementary level, the children should have already mastered these skills. And so we have a report from the Department of Education, actually from back in 2016, that showed about 68% of those students, I guess adults, starting at two-year public institutions, and about 40% of students enrolled in the public four-year universities took at least one remedial writing class between 2003 and 2009. Now, the reason that these this is a 2016 study and we're looking at data going back. Like, we'll get a new study coming out soon, but then it reports on the previous years. You know how bureaucracy takes a while to get things done. That's what we have going on. So we don't have actual specific data, but we do have individual studies not coming from the Department of Ed to help us out. Now, the average math and reading test scores, apparently, which we already know, dropped significantly from 2019 to 2021, according to a 2022 study that was done by two Northwest Evaluation Association, the NWEA.
But why?
But why would it have dropped? Oh, COVID-19.
COVID.
impacted
Oh, that's
years.
why.
Yes. But it seems likely that the 2016 figures would be much worse if they were actually indeed resampled here in 2023, just based off of, COVID was a part of it. So they're going to put an asterisk next to the whole time frame because we're just going to use COVID as being
COVID
blamed.
is a reason the kids aren't learning. And by the way, we need more money in the public schools. Yes,
of course. Now, Dr. Megan Kufeld was one of 3 NWEA study researchers, and she said that it seems likely in terms of COVID-19, but with 2 caveats. That A, the students in our study have not reached college yet, so it's hard to extrapolate from middle school test results about, if these scores were actually going to be worse for college. And B, colleges may have changed their criteria for routing students into remedial courses as results of the pandemic, which could also change our proportion. So there's going to be a thing, basically, where even if we were like, the scores are going to get worse and our kids are simply just worse at reading, they're going to make up the excuses and the reasonings and all that, and it's going to tie into this and that, and ultimately they're just going to put, again, that little asterisk next to it and write it off as if nothing happened, except we know they can't write, so we're in a conundrum with that.
Well, I was reading toward the end of this, and it's talking about a couple colleges, particularly like MSU, provides students with a list of several different options for preparation for college-level writing. That's for the fall 2023 semester. The University of Cincinnati, college easy writing. Oh, I'm sorry, essay.
Reading's hard too.
Yeah, reading is hard for me.
Reading and writing.
I've been out of school for a while.
But it's true. A lot of universities all across the nation are having to offer these remedial courses. And the thing is, basically hope that the students take them and take advantage of it and use the resources at their disposal. But then again, that didn't happen in their high school and middle school years either. Empire State University, which is part of, the university system for New York, they are providing a 0 credit class for college students called Preparing for College Level Writing. University of Florida, a 0 level. You get no credit for it. It's just like, hey, so how many kids have showed up to hey, here's free help. You're not getting credit for it, but come learn. Yeah. How many of them are going to actually take it up?
What a bad idea.
Yeah. But the University of Florida is also doing a course to help develop basic, not even advanced. Remember when advanced was a thing?
Is this stuff they should have learned in high school?
Absolutely.
Okay,
or
just
middle
want to
school.
Clarify.
Or middle school.
Okay, just want to clarify.
Speaking of middle school,
high school
we're going to talk about that because we have a new study that finds that most millennials and members of Generation Z believe a college degree isn't necessary to be successful in life. We can't write anyway. We're going to talk about that and what it means for the future workforce and higher education as well.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on pristine quality bedding, towels, slippers, signature pillows, and much more when you use the code EDUCATED. That's EDUCATED. Educated. Support this show and a great American company.
Well. A message is getting through. Beep, 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 beep,
What
beep.
message would that be?
That college may not be where you need to end up after high school. A survey by YPulse found that the Gen Z group is less likely to attend college today compared to even a couple years ago in 2019.
There are reasons for that.
If you're not watching and just listening, you're missing out. But I'm trying to add the sound effects at least.
That sounds
now,
good.
All, meaning 100% of surveyed middle school and high school students reported back in 2019 that they planned on attending college. You know how
100%?
100% back when they.
Look at
this
that.
is the YPulse. This is the YPulse survey.
In
Okay,
2019.
It's 2019. I got my whole life ahead of me, and it's like you look back. This is what you call dramatic irony when you look back, and we know what the audience does. Like, as the audience, we know what the play, like, they don't know the characters. You don't know what's about to happen.
But then it dropped.
There was a drop to 85% in 2020.
Okay.
And that was just at the onset of when COVID-19.
And then it dropped.
And then it fell to 82% in 2021. And hey, it gained a couple percentages. 84% in 2022. Now, YPOL surveyed 1,500 people each year who were between the ages of 13 and 39, excuse me. So it's talking about the millennials, or Gen Y, as we're actually called.
And Gen Z.
And the Gen Zers.
Yeah.
So the 13 to 39s, we fall in there. We got the Ys and the Zs and the Qs and the Ps and all the different things. Now, about 57% of middle school students said
Middle
that.
school?
Yeah, middle schoolers.
I had no idea. Even until I was a senior in high school,
Really?
I thought, I don't know what junior, maybe when I was a
See,
junior.
here's the deal.
They're
You're a different generation.
Yeah.
The millennials especially, it has been pounded into our heads. You must go to college. You must go to college. If you don't go to... so many sound effects today. You must go to college. If you don't go to college, you're going to be a failure at life. Boomers have put that into our brains. Well, boomers and some, I guess, older Gen Xers. Depends on where you fall in.
But then again,
now,
50 to 75 years ago, a college degree
meant something.
Did matter a little bit more. And
it was more... And back then, it was more of like, oh, if you got to go to college, that was... Oh, wow, that was like a really good thing to do. It was more blue-collar workers.
Yeah.
You didn't go to college, so they wanted what they would call better for their kids. And so it was go to college, because at the time, we thought going to college actually did mean being better in life.
And making more.
And making
have
more
a better
money.
income level.
Yep, all that. Well, now, however, us old millennials who are having young and even
You're
younger...
an old millennial?
I'd be a zennial if you want to call me a Gen X millennial mix. Depends on which definition you're giving us. But anyway, back to this. 57% now of middle school students said that work experience is more important to their success than a college degree. And that's compared with 48% who said a high school diploma or a GED is necessary, and 38% who said a college degree matters most. So it's like not necessarily the college degree anymore. It used to be, yes, college. Now it's like, well, how about work experience? Or, hey, just get your high school diploma and then get out into the workforce and see what happens. So in 2022, about 68% of Generation Z and 72% of millennials agreed with the statement, I don't need a college degree to be successful.
There it is. There's the graph right there.
All right. Go back just those 4 years. And back in 2019, only 43% of Gen Z. So now 68% compared to 43%. And now millennials, 72% say that, and 57% back then. So we're starting to cue in here that college isn't where you necessarily need to be.
Well, there's an interesting response here. Almost 3/4 of Gen Z students wished they learned more about alternative career paths compared to a traditional college education. 74% of them said, yeah, I wish I would have learned other options.
And honestly, the best advice, I mean, I was an academic. Obviously, you guys can tell I'm a big nerd, but it would have been good to go out into the workforce, as they say, find yourself, or find skills that you're good at, and then maybe apply that when you do know what you truly want to do, to go back to college. Because I also went back to college even after going straight into college and getting degrees. I still went back and found more education to apply to a new line of...
Well, you just love school, though. Not
I
everybody
am a
is
nerd.
like
I
Katie
get that.
Petrick.
Good thing they're not. They shouldn't. No one should be. But the point is, you don't have to go to college to be successful. A lot of our entrepreneurs would say that. But that also doesn't mean that, well, clearly grades don't matter in high school, or nothing matters, so because I don't need to go to college, so I blow everything off and I take no responsibility. That's not what we're saying either. You have to discover what you're good at, what your God-given abilities are, and let them shine, and then become a productive member of society. According to that survey then, under the, which of these do they need to be successful? As I said, the work experience was 57%, but you go down, only 11% said a PhD, which makes me laugh, because some people out there view having pieces of paper signifying that you're brilliant. If you have a PhD, if you have a doctor in front of your name, that's the end all be all. And if you don't have a doctor in front of your name, somehow you're just an idiot. So
it doesn't always translate into real life
education, medal,
work experience,
yep.
and income and
yeah.
prestige,
You can have a PhD
right?
in front of your name and be a dummy. It just means you collected a lot of pieces of paper. That's all it means.
Well, I mean, we've seen some of the most educated people in the country, in the world. It seems like they're missing a few. They're lacking wisdom. Mm-hmm. They're radical. They're missing obviously they're not open to free speech and worldview issues. But and education. We're not downplaying that if it's done right.
If it's done at all, yeah, like true education.
What it puts out today.
Be curious, read books, become educated. That's the summary of what our education system could be. Could be. But alas, we're done with all of that because we have nonsense to talk about. Always my favorite nonsense of the week. It's our latest Babylon Bee headlines.
Yes.
To discuss up next.
If you have a smartphone, tablet, Roku, or Apple TV, consider downloading the Freedom Project Media app. It's 100% free and includes all of our weekly shows, plus lecture series, archive programs, and award-winning animated videos for families like the Presidential Minute, Battles of America, and Heroes of the West. Don't rely on the social media giants to keep you informed. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app from your app store and allow notifications. And we'll let you know when a new video is ready.
All right. Before we wrap up the show for the day, let's take a look at everyone's favorite satire site, the Babylon Bee.
Here are this week's top 5 Babylon Bee headlines.
Okay, so we've picked our favorite headlines and will now decide which one should be named Queen of the Hive. As always, Katie has not seen these. Her reactions will be authentic, and you are allowed to LOL. Katie, we start with shuttered adult bookstores cite fierce competition from school libraries. Next, Democrats scramble to find replacement for retiring Mitt Romney. Next, McCarthy announces he has greenlit a probe to examine the possibility of investigating preliminary meetings into whether or not they should begin to consider the future likelihood of hypothetical impeachment hearings sometime later down the road. And next, Democrats say Republicans just using impeachment to try to get around rigged election system. Finally, new California law dictates if your kid says he's Optimus Prime, you must install tires on him and let him run down the 405 freeway.
Oh my goodness. That's
Katie,
just like a fun one that's thrown in because our producer loves himself some movies. So he wanted to just throw in a little Optimus Prime in there, I think.
So I think there's a couple interesting ones.
What do you got as your top?
Well, if that the very long titled one, McCarthy announces, if Hunter Biden was in there, that would be like, okay, that is it, because they're possibly maybe getting around to investigating something he did 5 or 10 years, something during the Obama-Biden administration. This was before Trump, right?
Yes.
That they had these connections with China and the Ukraine, and right now we're in 2023, and they're finally trying to look into some of this. But Katie, what's your top one here?
Well, it kicked off with the first one, got me just like, oh, that's sad and true that they basically have adult bookstores are competing against the school libraries these days, because we did a story earlier this week
we did,
talking about that and how the books that are in our kids' libraries at school and just the public libraries, it might as well, pick this book out. Was it located in a school library or was it in a porn shop or adult bookstore, if you will?
Right.
We don't know. Same difference. They're probably the same books.
We'll say that, in libraries, a lot of them, if they are picturized, they are caricatures, cartoon depictions.
Sure.
It's not a photo or whatever of real people, but they're doing the same stuff, and it's perverted, and it's soft porn, and that's what kids are looking at. So yeah, I found that to be funny and disturbing at the same time.
Exactly. That was like it's hit the nail on the head again. Babylon Bee,
Yeah.
You did it. As always.
I like the one about Mitt Romney.
Oh, the Mitt Romney one
Yeah.
is also pretty solid.
Yeah,
when
Democrats
that was announced, I was
scrambled.
like, oh, whippity-doo. Like, okay.
Democrats are going to try to find a replacement now for Mitt Romney.
Like,
By the way, I mean, I don't want to open up a whole nother can here, but when Mitt ran for president,
back then.
oh gosh,
What was it? The burger
he was
didn't
selected by the left
Okay.
to run as a Republican moderate or whatever. Anyway, what a mess. But that, on that note, that's going to wrap up our top headlines of the week. More satire next time.
Okie dokie, Smokey. If you are a fan of our show, if you could, just like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things, because you're probably watching us right now on some sort of social media platform. And hey, one of those options is also called Rumble. So we just launched a new channel over there at Rumble. So check us out. Simply visit rumble.com/FreedomProject and give the channel a little follow. Now, for David and for myself, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting this show. Until next time, stay educated.